hello, and Happy New Year. It is I, Pat, from the Pat Podcast. But you already knew that, because you wouldn't pick some obscure name called the Pat Podcast to listen to without already knowing that it's called the Pat Podcast. And immediately something flew into my eye, blinding me from starting this for the fifth time. I'm going to ignore it this time. It's good to see you again with what little sight I have left from this hair or whatever the hell just flew in my eye. It's been a while, and I have a lot of explaining to do, baby. I know I haven't called you in a while, but no, seriously. It's been me, not you. And I've had a lot on my plate. Apparently, this thing called parenthood takes up a little bit of time. I wasn't aware of this 100%. I am now. I realize that I'm capable of spending great amounts of my time and money on children getting sick and children going to school and them needing this thing called food. It's just awful. I don't recommend it to everybody, but for those that do look forward to it, it's worth it. It just it does take away from your time, but inexcusable. It's been this long that you haven't had a chance to hear from me, and I am very sorry. In all seriousness, I do try to back off when I don't really have a solid topic to talk about. It's very common for me to repeat myself, and for those of you that have listened to this from the beginning, I bet you're capable of identifying when, he's already talked about this. Or maybe I'm being too egotistical, and you're like, I never heard this before because I've never heard this show before, and I probably never will again. Yes, I know. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, I would request that you subscribe immediately. Do it. Good for you. I'm proud of you. You made my day. And also, if you would like to ring the bell so that any time that I make one of these, every 4 years, you will be notified and be like, oh, that guy's still alive. I thought you were taken over by diabetes or something. I don't know. But no, I am, to many people's dismay, still here. How have you been? How's life treating you? Like I can hear you. Oh, is that right? Oh, how is your uncle really? Oh, fantastic. And yourself? School, huh? Wait, replace that. Work, huh? Okay, well, that's just as... I'm so proud of you, young man, woman, lady, other. I have all the checkboxes. Please pick whichever one is most aligned to you. I welcome all. There is no favoring or disfavoring of anybody. I am totally open-armed to everybody. But it is really good to come back to this therapeutic session called the Pat Podcast in lieu of everything we've been doing at Jackass Express. For those of you that may not have seen, we have been releasing on a steady schedule the Dungeons & Dragons experience called Disadvantage. Created, hosted, written, performed by Mr. Dan Doucette, Mr. Walter Banbrook Chase, and Jonathan Chase. Blue, forget his real name. Sorry, Blue. Saxon, Jeff, and so forth. Some other clown. It's we've been able to steadily pump out week by week things with a very interesting story. I'm excited about it. I love it. I think it's one of those situations that reminds me kind of like of Ghostbusters, where it's a serious situation that Dan put together, but he's dealing with a bunch of idiots that are trying to deal with their way through it, and we just can't stop laughing at it. It's the greatest, literally one of the funniest experiences I've ever had. I myself have been working on a lot of personal projects. Been doing some freelance projects for friends to kind of help train myself to get better at like 3D animation and so forth. I really don't put a lot of that on this channel because it's not the same type of vibe we're going for. But if you're interested in some of that stuff, always go to my Celtic Horn channel and you can see some of my nonsensical stuff there. I really would appreciate it. What did I want to talk about so badly that I would break my silence after all this time? I have notes. Yes, COPPA. COPPA, eh? The old-fashioned term for law enforcement, the COPPA. Or the Child Online Protection and Practices and Protection Act, or whatever that is. Promising to fine people who have used children-related or childlike images and childlike themes for their their shows, their animated shows, and so forth. Like I said, I work with 3D animation, those who use 3D animation of popular characters to entice children and have them subscribe to their channel and so forth and whatever. And the fear that people, they give you now this selection box where you can mark it as safe for kids, not safe for kids, or I don't know. And then they decide for you, apparently. It's bothersome. It truly is bothersome. It's got a lot of people that I respect, a little bit freaked out, and I can't blame them. In the beginning of YouTube, it really was the Wild West where nobody had an idea of what was appropriate, not appropriate. It was just like a free forum. And if you go onto any forum on the internet that's not monitored or not regulated by certain age groups, whatever, it gets pretty bad. I mean, it's bad stuff, bad news out there. But YouTube was basically an open forum for you to express yourself creatively. And a lot of people use that to, vent a lot of their creative frustrations, and a lot of people used it just to make money. And those that use it to make money, of course, they're looking for a way to abuse the system, and the easiest people to abuse in a video environment, unfortunately, is children, because they will watch the same video over and over and over. When I was a kid, and for most of you that are probably of age to listen to this podcast with, by the way, I should mention this podcast is not for kids if you haven't already figured that out. I think we can agree on that. The definition of a child by YouTube and the FTC standards is anybody under the age of 13. I doubt anybody under the age of 30 listens to this. Hell, I don't even know why I listen. I'm just kidding. But the way to abuse the system is to take, like when we were kids, we would watch a video, a VHS. Oh, I carbon dated myself right there, right? And when it was done, it would be rewound. You would rewind it and you would watch it again, and you would rewind it and watch it again, to the point where you would destroy the VHSs because they were rewatched and watched so many times that it wasn't like today where you just back and then watch it again. YouTube provides that where they can watch the same video over and over again. And also there's literally millions of other videos out there for them to choose from with the same themes and things they want. So you could realistically take 10 children, and out of those 10 children, over the course of a year, get 100,000 views based off of just those 10 kids, because that's how frequently they'll rewatch the same stuff, and that's how frequently parents tend to encourage, the iPod nanny or the iPad nanny to watch their kids. So that market is very solid. You got people out there that are just amazing content creators that are genuinely trying to do something beneficial towards children. And then you got those that made those weird Elsa Spider-Man videos that are uncomfortable. And then you hear about these kids who watched them, and it's like it's a shame. It's a shame because they it's not unexpected that these people would take advantage of such an opportunity, such as broadcast in YouTube. But it is a shame because it does. It's like when you go to a store and you see something that says there is to be no standing on equipment and pretending that it is a surfboard. And you're like, that's obscure. Why would anybody come up with that rule? Well, usually rules aren't created till after somebody's done something to warrant them. And YouTube is no different. They don't want to be fined $175 million again by the FTC. So they have to really, really scare the crap out of people to not do things like that. And the only way you hit somebody is through their pocketbook. That's the only way you can truly scare someone, is threaten their livelihood. So YouTube, of course, overcorrects and gives a very broad definition of what it is to create child-created content. And it was frightening for a while because most of us, especially me, who started off in like 2004, 2008, we created a lot of what was called machinima. And machinima was based off of video games, namely Halo 3. And I created a whole thing with that. And video games could be seen as appropriate for children. But the content creation for kids, the label for Halo 3 is mature only, so kids shouldn't be watching it. It doesn't matter. Because the algorithm is going to see who's been watching them based off of the age group. And granted, you're not supposed to be under a certain age before you join YouTube, but that doesn't mean people don't. And that doesn't mean that mom and dad don't put, a video in front of their kids. And YouTube's aware of that, so they're going to be monitoring anything that could be child-related on there. So you think, oh, okay, well, I'll just mark it as not safe for kids. All my problems go away. Well, the fear in the consensus is that what if you made something that you said was not safe for kids, but they deem ambiguously that it is? These colors and these action figures and these Halo characters, they are designed to stimulate children. Therefore, it does fall underneath the guidelines of what we said. So we're going to fine you up to $42,000 American. Well, that's bad, because most people are over $42,000 in student loan debt, but that's a different topic. So it's frustrating to see this. And I went to my friends and I discussed them with the rest of the guys about, hey, this is a very interesting issue that's coming up right now. How do you guys want to approach this? And thankfully, Chase directed me towards a video of a lawyer on YouTube, which by no means should you ever take the full legal advice of somebody on YouTube, but just always take everything with a grain of salt, no matter where you get advice from, except for me. Every advice I give you is 100% perfect. I'm just kidding. But he was discussing how what they were truly looking for is those that are using their content in order to get information from children. So, for example, those who ask for their children's name and age and activities and what their favorite toys are and stuff like that. For kids under the age of 13, I can see where that's inappropriate. But I mean, that already was kind of common sense. I mean, what creepo is going to make a video that's not backed by a major corporation that's meant for kids, or at least a licensed child, psychologist, developer, or something that would have the ability to relate to kids and truly offer a product in a business environment protected by a business association, offer or solicit anything to minors? In any regard, that's wrong. That is 100% wrong. So the definition got a little bit fumbled, and people like to oversimplify things because they don't want to have to think about it. And sure enough, this lawyer, and I'll try to link to the video in the description here, the specifics of what it is that they mean by entailing kids on YouTube. And that is the people under the age of 13 whom you're asking for their personal information, their social security and stuff, in order to market them, in order to send them stuff that they might like, or you're gaining information about them that helps you create your products better. Basically, if you try to be your own Google, they're gonna kick you off. They're gonna kick you off. And I probably shouldn't have said that, because now Google's algorithm is they're talking bad about me. I'm gonna have to do something. I love Google. They're flawless and they have no problems whatsoever. Their majesty are kings, and white, they are the white knight. No, they're human beings just like everybody else, and they make mistakes. So that had me a little bit flustered. It had me very focused on trying to find a way to continue the Jackass Express that doesn't leave ourselves wide open to, an ambiguous, ridiculous fine or penalty or fee for something that was never intentional, but taken out of context could be seen as derivative towards kids, And it makes me realize a lot about the people and the nature of YouTube. YouTube, at its very function, has some basic components. To entertain you, it's in the selection box when you upload a video. Entertainment, gaming, educational, political. When you start going to the box that says other, that's where it gets a little bit iffy and whatever. But it tells me that usually when someone uploads something to YouTube, it's because it has a purpose. It was created with a purpose, or it's supposed to be. That's the spirit of the integrity of YouTube. Is the video that you are going to create is going to either be a reflection of your own opinions, or a statement of opinions or facts in order to persuade somebody else to see things the way that you do. So there is a purpose behind it. Now, a video without a purpose, how does that even work? Well, a video without a purpose is simply eye candy. It's simply something that you put online that flashes and makes sounds and colors, and kids are drawn to. Basically, the lowest common denominator. Not trying to be insulting to most adults, but that's kind of what they do. This YouTube poop thing that I've heard of, the great YouTube poop artists out there, which I'll have to admit, some of it's pretty funny. I will admit some of it's pretty funny. But the point is, it has no purpose other than to be satirical. It's not even satirical. It's just stupid. And it's supposed to make you laugh, but it preys on your discomfort of what's being seen in order to generate that nervous response laughter. You know? And then people are like, oh, I laughed at something really messed up. Maybe I should go ask somebody else to watch it so I can see them react to it, and then I'll know if how I reacted to it's okay. But then they feel uncomfortable, so then you both think it's funny, and then you spread it across everywhere, and it's one of those things. But there's two different types of people on YouTube. There's people who are genuinely doing good things, or they're trying to do good things, such as like what we're trying to do here is create a medium to educate, entertain, and make dumb jokes, make people laugh, comedic. And we can make mistakes. We can say things that were maybe appropriate in the context and the time frame of when we were saying them, but it was an accident because, it shows our age, it shows our disassociation with a lot of what the current standards for, being appropriate is, which constantly is changing all the time. There is no standard for appropriate. Anybody can get offended by anything nowadays. Anyway. And then you have people who are intentionally trolling. And the trolling is people who are seeking to offend for the hilarity in it. They're not doing it just because they're bad people. They're doing it because they're getting something out of it. They're getting a kick out of it. Either they're getting your reaction in a negative way, which makes them entertained, or they're getting your reaction in a way that makes them laugh. They're just ecstatic to go after other people, and they'll say things with deadpan, statements sounding like they're serious, but intending to get a reaction. And that reaction actually generates multiple reactions because they create a spectacle, and that spectacle gives them viewership, it gives them subscribers, the Sanjaya effect is what I like to call it. And for those of you that don't know what I mean, Sanjaya was a contestant on American Idol a couple of years ago, and with no vocal promise whatsoever. This guy was just awful, and a lot of the country just kept voting for him, I think because they thought it was funny that someone that was so terrible was going to make it to the finals and potentially win the contest. So same things happened with Dancing with the Stars, where they keep voting for somebody who has no talent in the competition, but they like the spectacle of not even the underdog, but of the the complete opposite of what the program was meant for, succeeding despite clear evidence that they lack the ability that the show stands for, whatever. And the mob mentality, people get together, they enjoy being together, they enjoy being in on the joke, so they want to take a part of it, because if they don't take a part of it, then the other side is either they don't care, which is probably the best way to handle a situation like that, or they're against it, which they know, ironically, from their past experience, that they'll be ridiculed and made fun of and exposed of to this group who will then rip them apart, because the other insecure people who like the bad thing are going to go after this person in order to validate their insecurity. That's what we do in a society. And it's frustrating because you no longer have people who are good at heart doing funny things to be mean. Now you have people who do mean things in order to be popular, and you have the people who follow them in order to not be the next victim. Isn't it weird? You hide behind their funniness. You tell them that what they say is funny in order to not be the victim of their weirdness, of their illogical behavior. And we're all guilty of it to a certain extent. We always hear that inappropriate joke that we shouldn't laugh at, but we do, and we get mad at ourselves for it later. Like, oh, damn it, why did I laugh at that? That's not okay. Damn. And it's already too late. But what you can do is just ignore it. If it really is something that's not your cup of tea, don't be afraid to ignore it and just be like, oh, yeah, that's funny. Good job, guys. And then move on. But true humor is at risk, I feel, because now everybody's taking offense to everything, and the internet doesn't like that everybody's taking offense to everything, so they answer it by being more offensive, which stands to reason the importance of something called balance. Balance. simplistic balance. Outside of religion, outside of faith, outside of practices, balance can be, the centerpiece of most faiths, religions, and practices. And all it really means is that you can't be too far one way or the other. Anything that gets out of balance, Star Wars, there you go, Star Wars, thank God. Perfect example. When something gets, and I'm not going to give any spoilers because I haven't seen Rise of Skywalker yet, but as of the making of this video, when everything is unbalanced and everybody respects each other and everybody is equal and they're fair and they're decent to each other, things tend to work out. Even if they have disagreeing opinions and thoughts and patterns, as long as they respect each other, people can live in a society and it's fine. But it's when one side takes it too far to the point where they want to humiliate the other side, or they want to crush the other side, that's when everything falls apart. That's when discussion breaks down. That's when solutions break down. That's when scheming comes up. That's when people get hurt feelings and they get vindictive and they go after people who have, no idea that they have even upset you that badly because you pretended like you took it with stride, but you didn't. And this passive-aggressive culture that we've been seeing growing and growing and growing, not only in our news media, but also in our social circles, Somebody always has to be right. And it's frustrating because that's the least relevant thing to being happy, is being right. And there comes a point in your life where you have to really make the decision between being right or being happy. But in their anger, most people choose they'd rather be right, even at the expense of something ridiculous and terrible. And like that tragedy that happened in El Paso. That was horrible. But this person was so convicted in their sick mentality. I don't believe that this person was evil. I believe this person was sick. And he had no support telling him that he was too far the other way, or he was incapable of hearing it and didn't seek the attention he needed, that he did something devastatingly awful and terrible and inhumane. And it sounds terrible to sympathize with this person, and I don't. But I understand that is a standing reason. That is a standing reason why people do that. They don't do that. People who are happy don't do that. People who are balanced in their life don't do that. It's people who have lost that balance and they're trying to re-tip the scales in their favor that do that. Either to be proven right or to gain recognition. And that's a shame. It truly is a shame. Last topic I wanted to go over was the reason why we tend to be a little bit more favorable towards Facebook than we are to Twitter. I have a problem with Facebook. I think that people have their own private soap operas on Facebook. And I've always felt that way, but it's not until I got a little bit older that I realized, I thought people were kind of just making these off-cuff remarks or whatever. But no, they're flat out standing on a soapbox to explain how their day is not going to go the way that it was supposed to. And then the next day, it looks like this day is not going to go the way it's supposed to either. No, Bobby Sue, what happened? Tell us your story. I have to know. And so I realized Facebook's not without its own problems, but I prefer it because it tends to have an older and slightly more mature, not mature, but more mature audience than Twitter. Twitter, I believe, has become a breeding ground for zombies. And I love Twitter. By the way, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. At Jackass Express. I'm serious, please do. But Twitter, unfortunately, becomes I'm going to find somebody who gave the perfect response. I'm going to give the response, take all the credit for it. And then that person gets, crowded by all these people that align behind them because they couldn't think of anything clever to wittyly retort. And they hide behind this person who came up with this one retort. They may actually see somebody who made a clear and thought out point about something on Twitter. And then they'll be like, yeah, that person was right. And then you get the one person who's going to be like, I don't accept that person was right. And they search the Google for the most, powerful response they can do that is just a quick little jab back at the person just to either discredit, not to argue with, not to take away their point, not to argue with their point, but just to discredit them and make them seem ridiculous for their statement. And they'll hit them with that, and then that will end up getting more likes, and then people are like, oh, I guess that other person didn't have a point, because look, this person said you're the one with the problem. And then they align with that person, and it goes on to the next person, and then they tell the next person, it goes on to the next person, and the only other thing that follows that pattern, in my opinion, are zombies. And so the Twitter zombies and the Facebook soap operas have become a little bit frustrating over the course of a couple of years, but Facebook has always been good to us. They've always, hosted us, and we're grateful to them. I see a lot of potential in what's to come with the Jackass Express. This format of podcast is probably going to become a little bit more common, as it's easier for me to set up like this and just record, as opposed to getting all the guys together, sitting them down, we discuss our topics, and then we try to find time to get each other to talk, because it always ends up into, hey, how you been, man? And then we run out of time to talk about, Mandalorian or whatever, which I wanted to get to, but I'll get to it next time. We will be continuing the Dungeons and Dragons campaign. There is more to come. We still have to record the final episode. I'm looking forward to that. Dan's been doing an amazing job. I'm really proud of the guy. Also, Blue, Sax, Tip, and Chase, Jeff, they've all been just doing a great job. I am in shock at how involved they've become with this project, and it's awesome. And we will be resuming some Jackass Express podcasts, so it's not always these serious ones. And we look forward to making the stuff for you. We wouldn't make the stuff if we didn't enjoy it. And with, the inevitable demise of YouTube, why do we make it? It's ever more now proof that we do it because we like it. And it does help us if you subscribe, because it motivates us even further. So please hit that subscribe button and like the video. That also gives us a thing. And if you want to leave a comment, you suck or whatever, that kind of helps us out too. So please, if you'd like to do that, ironically, that would help us out a lot. Thank you for watching the Pat Podcast, episode 22. If you want to follow us on Facebook with the rest of the soap operas, facebook.com/JackassExpress, at Twitter, @JackassExpress, Instagram, same thing, and I believe our website is jackassexpress.com. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.